Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamey Daddy channel. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you guys that are new players why you should, pay very close attention to your specialization and, read very carefully. The first tip I'll give you as a division agent, if you're just joining the game, say you're starting from, the level 1 all the way through level 30, or you came in with the Warlords of New York DLC purchase and you're going from level 30 to level 40, you have to spend time reading and looking very carefully at every single thing and the description as given in this game. And if you don't understand, I almost want to say write it down and leave it in a comment section in almost any YouTuber's channel, and somebody can explain if they're passing and reading comments, or over time you finally get to kind of understand it. Now, you don't have to write it down, but it really does help. That way you don't ignore it and you miss out on the benefit if it's staring you right in the face. This is just my main tip, for any new player. Now, why should you pay attention to your specializations? Well, your specializations actually grant you perks, and they are like a secondary skill tree that is hidden within some random weapon. So this is a looter shooter, and the developers have skillfully hidden extra buffs and extra strength measures for the player within the paradigm of them having a third weapon that they can go and pick up and use. Now within that weapon there are many perks that come with it. So I'll show you my build first, and I'll show you why attentiveness is being paid to my specialization, if you get what I mean. So regarding this build, I want to design a status effect build, and I want that status effect build to actually work from the aspect of dealing explosive damage, which leads to bleed. Now, this sounds very weird, but I'm messing around with this. I could build a different and a better version, but I just eventually got this set called Eclipse Protocol, and I want to use it and see how well it's going to do status effect regarding bleed. So what I've done is I have 4 pieces of Eclipse Protocol. If you notice their stats for every time I use 2, 3, and 4, I'll get these perks. 2 pieces grant me 15% status effect. Status effects are in the Division 2 are burn, bleed, shock, and I think toxicity or something. And then there's also blind. There are different ones in the game, but the ones that we usually use in PvE, and even some people use in PvP, are the burn and the bleed. These are very interesting. And also there's the riot foam, where you stick an enemy in the same spot. That's very common in PvP actually. And the third piece gives me 15% skill haste. It means my skill cooldowns are going to be faster, and 30% protection from 30% hazard protection. So I'm basically much more protected from hazardous effects that can try to harm me. And then I have a 4th piece which gives me indirect transmission. And so now my status effect now spread on kill to all enemies within 15 meters and refresh 50% of the duration. So basically I have a better and a longer duration whenever I take out an enemy NPC. This is the benefit of using this gear set, say perhaps over another gear set that actually does do status effects, and that is the China Light Industry. At the 3rd piece I get status effect, but I do get 15% explosive damage though when I'm using it with its first piece. So ideally I could run 1 piece of it to get the explosive damage and allow for the status effects to come from others, but I'm ignoring the 15% explosive damage, and I'm using this 1 piece for more status effect. It's called a firm handshake, and it's a named high-end Sokolov concern glove that will grant me status effects when I use it. It usually comes with a red core attribute, but I went ahead and gave it a 6th skill tier, so my skills can be maxing up all of whatever it is. Then I have the Vow Mask that also is a status effect based build paradigm as well, and it basically says status effects also apply damage over time debuff, a damage over time debuff for 10 seconds. Total damage dealt is equal to 50% of your concussion grenade damage and increased by your status effect attributes. So when I have more status effect attributes, I get the increase of what the Vow Mask can actually do. So what specialization will actually come to the center and help all of this? Oh, I forgot to show you my weapon. Sorry. I have a weapon here named Perpetuation, which also allows for me to gain 50% status effect damage when I land a headshot. And this is a duration. So my status effect will last even much longer than it already does. Now it does have a cooldown of 20 seconds, but that's not really a big deal. With all the other status effects that I'm actually landing with this build, or will be landing with this build when I finally start to put it to work, this should be really interesting to see how it all happens. And that brings me to the crux of this entire video, which is your specialization. Now, before I jump into this, I'm going to, throw down a shameless plug. I've actually made videos covering all specializations, and I've talked about them in depth. I've given my opinions and talked about, which are my favorites. And I'll leave the links in the comment section or as a pinned comment or in the description for you so that you can actually check those videos out. Those videos were very long and it takes a while to discuss a lot of the different aspects of the specialization. But from the knowledge of the game, the demolition and specialization seems to fit with something like this. And there are just a few reasons. One of them is this talent called Explosive Ordnance. This grants me a 10% increased explosive damage, which affects my grenades, skills, and effects. So if you remember that talent on my mask over here, this says I'm going to be gaining, the damage that I'm going to be dealing is going to be 50% of my concussion grenade damage and increased based on my status effect attributes. Well, now, not only am I now getting 50% of that with the Vow Mask, because I'm using this specialization, I have now achieved for myself an extra 10% increase in that status effect damage that's applied indirectly using the specialization. The specialization, like I've mentioned in the past, and I think I mentioned at the beginning and onset of this video, is a hidden skill tree that you also get. Another thing too is the way that I'm using my, skills. My skill that I'm using is the artillery turret, which is only able to grant me, which is only granted to me when I use the demolitionist specialization. If I use any other specialization, I don't have access to this. So that's another reason that my specialization is now influencing, this. And if you look, the artillery turret basically applies a bleed status effect on the affected target. When I hit a target or the AoE around where that target is, they bleed. Now, because bleed is a status effect, all of those different bonuses that have come with my gear, that have come with my other pieces, are then going to be applied. Also note too that because this is a gear set and I'm using the chest piece and the backpack, I now gain extra bonuses because proliferation increases my indirect transmission range from 15 meters to 20 meters and refresh percentage from 50 to 75. So if you remember, enemies within a 15-meter radius were going to be affected. Also, enemies within the 20-meter radius will not be affected if I use pretty much this chest piece. And that's basically how it works. With the backpack, I also get the symptom aggravator, which basically, all damage I deal is now to status affected targets is amplified by 15%. So that's kind of the cool aspect using this. So any damage I deal with them, if I hit them once, boom, with my artillery turret and they start bleeding and I hit them again, that damage will now be amplified, be it with my weapon or whatever it is. And these are the advantages of using this. Now, I'm also going to be using my Seeker Mine, the Explosive Seeker Mine, which also applies bleed. And I can look at my damage numbers and kind of figure out where all of this status effect damage will go. So with just that one talent that you have on this specialization, my entire build is now influenced by what specialization I pick. And I make sure that this is also leveled up. You can do these. You can get the points, the specialization points, by doing missions and doing activities in the open world, control points, invaded missions. These will grant you, and you even see every mission and the rewards that it grants you. It will be listed that there are going to be specialization points attached to the rewards. And then, also your specialization, this specialization as well, if you level it up all the way here, you're also going to gain extra damage as well. So you want to focus on that at the same time. Then you also have your specialization signature weapon itself, which will grant you huge explosive damage as well. And so if you apply status effects with your items that are, going to target the enemy, you gain all of these buffs. And all of this entire build basically hangs on that one specialization in the way that I'm building it. I could make some changes as well by using the other status effects from the shock trap, which shock is also a status effect if you look very well here. I could also use the Stinger Hive, which the Stinger Hive also applies the bleed status effect and does a lot of bleed damage and has a lot of charges and has a huge range as well, and a refill speed of about 5 seconds. So that's also a very nice one, but it's nice to just drop in the middle of a bunch of enemies or at a spawn point so that they bleed and lose a whole bunch of their health. It's another option that I can use. For some, I don't know who would, but I've never really seen anybody use the Bombardier Drone very well. I want to actually master it, but it's just one that's really, really tough to deal with. But if I can learn how to master it, or if the developers probably need to change its utility or the way it's used, it will probably be a very nice one to use. But another thing too is it doesn't just set 2 points and then deploy the payload. It doesn't apply any bleed damage anyway, so it probably won't work. I wish it did apply bleed, but it'll be broken in PvP, that's for sure. So if there's any reason for you to actually pay attention to your specialization, that's just a few of them. I bet you I probably missed something, because a bunch of these videos regarding specializations, you know, it's such a complex aspect of the game added on top of everything. It's something that I would say one video might not be enough, but hopefully this video kind of gets you started. And I've also left you guys a bunch of other resources, videos that I've made regarding specializations in the description, and I think I'll do it in a pinned comment in post-production. So thank you for your time and audience. Thanks for listening to the video. I appreciate you guys a lot. Welcome to the Division 2. It's a fun game. You're going to have a blast. It's complex, but you'll be fine. All right. Peace.